And then I'm going to go ahead and admit everyone. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. I see some familiar faces from our previous session, so welcome back. And for anyone who's logging on for their first session today, I want to welcome you. My name is Brianne Lott. I'm a Global Career Initiatives Coordinator at Career and Professional Development Services. And with me today is my colleague, Nicholas Ferraro, who's Assistant Director. And we're really excited to offer you this session about Handshake. Nick's going to go over the platform and kind of everything that you need to know to get started. Of course, this session is part of our International Student Career Development Summer Series. So this week we're offering 23 different sessions about different career and professional development topics, specifically for international students and alumni. So we really encourage you to check out all of the events that are being offered today through Friday. Sign up for as many as you want. It's kind of just at your convenience. So if that means one session or 10 sessions or all 23 sessions, we would love to have you join us back for some other sessions. Before we get started with our session this morning, I'm just going to cover a few housekeeping items. So you all probably noticed already that you are muted. So we won't be able to hear anything that you say. We're not able to see you. And we're going to keep you on mute throughout the presentation. But if you have any questions or comments, you can use the chat function to enter those. Just type those into the chat. We'll be kind of reviewing the questions as they come in. And then we do have a good chunk of time at the end to come back and open it up for some question and answer. So also this meeting is being recorded, and after this is finished, I will send out a link to the recording for all participants. So don't worry if there's any part that you didn't catch. I'll send out the link for that recording afterwards. So without further ado, I would like to hand it over to my colleague, Nick.
Brianne, thank you for the introduction, and thank you for being the mastermind behind these week's events. Please just advise you all attend whatever interests you. There's going to be a lot of great information here, a lot of great things to learn. So today we're going to be covering Handshake, and I'm going to be doing a deep dive into all the different components that you have access to in Handshake, as well as how to build out your profile on your Handshake account. I want to make it interactive too. So in a minute, I'm going to be sharing my screen, but before I share my screen, I want to know who has been using Handshake. So if you can you put a check bar, can you click the checkbox yes component on the participants function there? Just so if you have used Handshake, and you can use the X if you haven't used Handshake. Okay, good. So we definitely have a few that have used Handshake before, which is awesome. I'm also going to cover some just even before, just in case you haven't had a chance to get on Handshake yet, what you might experience when first logging in. So I'm going to share my screen. And what the first thing you're going to see is our Career and Professional Development Services homepage. If you can just give me one moment while I get all the different components up. So just one moment, please. Thank you. Okay, perfect. Okay. And like Brianne had mentioned, feel free to post any questions that you have along the way in the group chat box. Brienne will be able to answer those throughout the presentation if I don't see them, but I will try to keep my eye out and catch them so we can address them along the way, especially as we're going to be navigating the platform live. So what you see here, and just to confirm, can everyone see the home page? Okay, perfect. If you want to, you can absolutely follow along with us today, but the homepage is career.asu.edu, and I just wanted to even show you how you can log into Handshake initially. So you can go to our homepage and log in by signing in here. You can also go to asu.joinhandshake.com. That'll take you there, or you can type in ASU Handshake in Google or search bar, and it will also pull that up. So there's a variety of different ways, but I'm going to click on that. And since I've been logged in and have this account logged in already, it will automatically take me to my Handshake account. But if you haven't logged in yet, it will ask you to log in, and you will log in with your ASU credentials. So it'll bring up that My ASU login page. You'll go ahead and log in through there. Once you have logged in, if you haven't been on Handshake before, it's going to prompt you almost with a survey. And what those questions that you're going to be answering, what that's there to do is to help you get set up as far as the information you're going to be seeing through your Handshake account. So it's going to ask you questions about what career interest communities that you're interested in, what types of roles you're interested in, where do you want to work. And the reason that it's going to be asking you these different types of questions is so it can tailor your homepage. And it wants to tailor your homepage to the different positions that you might be interested in. So that means, different positions, internships, events, maybe by location, industry area. So I highly recommend taking the time to really fill that out, and so you can get that best customized homepage here. And so there are some tabs here which you can use. But I wanted to also connect to show you these tabs at the top. So the first tab we're going to review is our Jobs tab. In the Jobs tab, I wanted to show you a couple key search functions and a couple components on this page. This Jobs tab, you can search for jobs and internships, as well as you can manage your applications and if you have scheduled on-campus interviews or interviews with an employer through Handshake. So when you first get to this section, the sections that or the jobs that you initially see are probably going to be tailored to your profile, but you can search for any job and internship through this page, but it will initially show you those customized ones at first. And one question that we have come in was, if you did not fill out those introduction questions properly initially, can you retake those? And yes, we can re-access those, and I'll cover that here shortly. And I know Brienne had mentioned that as well. So on the left here, you'll actually see the positioned titles, and there's some few components in here. One of them is you're going to see if that position is a remote position. So do they have remote opportunities, such as you can see here under this marketing specialist. You'll see the location and what type of opportunity it is. So there's full-time jobs, part-time jobs, and internships. Those are going to be the common positions that you're going to see here. And you're going to see another component here. This is employer match. And so what that employer match is does your major, your GPA, your school year, and a work authorization component match to what that employer is looking for? And so this can be a good reference tool to maybe, as you're filtering through these, to what positions you might be pulling up. And so on here, you can solely search by like full-time, part-time, or you can do just internships. So those are some really basic search functions. And then Handshake has actually curated some key terms based on your previous search results and your profile here too. But one thing I wanted to show you here is I'm searching by, I'm just going to take off the internship search type right now. But I wanted to set a few components on here. So one things that that international students are commonly looking for are what employers are accepting OPT and CPT, and what employers are open to sponsorship or does not require a US work visa. And so that's actually what you can do here through this filters tab. And you can click on these and it'll set those filters and you will click see jobs. So now you will see positions that are open to OPT and CPT and or maybe are open to sponsorship as well. So you'll see on here, you'll see a little note on most job descriptions on what they're looking for. And this one says, employer will sponsor a work visa and accepts OPT and CPT. So this is a good way to do some of that searching through the different positions. And I want to break this down for you for what a job description looks like on Handshake. So you'll see the position title here, the company, and again, some of those details such as the type of opportunity, location, is it paid, unpaid, as far as when it comes to internships, or is it a stipend? Some internships are stipend, and when it was posted. You'll also see when the application closes, and then there's a button here that says either apply externally or apply. If it just says apply, that means you're going to apply through Handshake. If it indicates apply externally, it's still going to ask you to submit your resume, but it's going to take you to the external board for that employer. So usually it's going to take you to that employer's careers page. It'll tell you, and then there's going to be some important information. Most employers will typically indicate how they want you to apply, but it's also going to talk about the position, the different roles or responsibilities, the qualifications, so what they're specifically looking for. And most job descriptions will have a, let's see if we can find it here. What you will need or what you will do. There's also two different parts on. There's a required skills section, and then there's typically a preferred skills section. And so those are good to review just to make sure, just to ensure that you are meeting those different components. And let's say you really are interested in certain jobs, you can star them and it'll add it to your My Favorite Job section. So you don't have to go back and filter through again to find that job you are looking at. You can click that star and then you can save these different positions as you are searching for opportunities. And now, let's say you're really interested in the job description and you want to find out more about that organization. So there's a few ways to research organizations within Handshake. The first one of the ways is you can actually just go through the bottom of that job description and you can click on that employer name and it'll take you to that employer's Handshake page. You can also follow the employer so you'll get updates about when they post positions or have updates, some contact information, open positions, and if there's a public staff. And a public staff means, is there someone directly to reach out to? The other fun thing about the employers page that I really like and enjoy is there's questions and answers. So you can see questions that have been asked about that employer and answers to those, and those are students that are answering those questions. You can also see students who have worked there, and this allows you to then connect with those students, and these are at other universities as well, it's not just ASU. And you can reach out to those students about their experiences there too. So you can see reviews about the organization, whether it's students have worked there or have done an internship there. So you can see the reviews. I highly recommend if you're applying to an organization, read through the reviews, see what they're offering for advice, or seeing what they're recommending so you can ensure that these organizations are going to be a best fit for you. And then on the interview section, this is another neat tool, is you can see what the interview process was like for different students. And this will really help you for that interview process. So this is a neat component about Handshake where you can really do a deep dive into each employer that you're interested in. And you can even connect to other students who have worked or done an internship with that organization. So I'm going back to that jobs tag, so taking us back to where we were originally. And if I click on the Employers tab, right. So if I click on the Employers tab, it's going to talk about employers that I follow, but you can also search through other employers on here as well. So maybe you're not sure about a job yet, but you really want to search through employers on here. You maybe found a position posted elsewhere and you want to research that employer more through Handshake. That's something that I recommend to do as well. And if you had any applications submitted, you would see those applications here, or any interviews that were scheduled through the platform too. So that's I would say, a really in-depth overview of the job search / internship search section. Make sure that you do read those full job descriptions, because there's a lot of information in there that's going to be very beneficial for you in that application, as far as things you should be including on your application, through your resume, through your cover letter, how to apply. You want to ensure that you're following all those instructions so that you are not submitting an incomplete application. Any questions on the Jobs tab?
So Nick, we did have one question come through. They noticed when you were playing with the filters, there was a filter for co-op, and they're curious what that button is up at the very top.
Oh, here we see.
Yeah.
There we go. So let's see. So co-op is really a different type of, and this is something I've really heard in the engineering or STEM field, mainly when it comes down to engineering. But a co-op is almost like a full-time position that you work for during like a set period of time. Typically, it's during a semester length. But when you're pretty much working for that organization during that time, it does have internship components to it. So you will have learning components from it, but it is more of like a full-time position. But it is, I would say, similar to an internship. And I know, Brianne, you've included a more in-depth, like a link to read more in depth about that. That's just, I would say, more surface level between a co-op and an internship. I would say most things are categorized as an internship because that's a very common term we use. But you will see some co-ops in here. But again, those are going to be more full-time during a semester. As you can see on here, this is during the fall semester. So sometimes students will take a limited number of classes during that time. So that's something that, if you are considering that, making sure that you're looking at your future class schedule, talking with your academic advisor to ensure that you can take the appropriate number of classes and do a co-op at the same time. Good question. So yeah, Handshake, the job searching tool is fantastic on here. I definitely recommend it, and especially these employer matches. And I'll show you where you can update your GPA and your different components here too. The other something else I just remembered I forgot. On a position through here, you can see that when a position is posted, it'll have a location and it'll have other locations that that position is posted in as well. So that's something else to keep in mind, that not every position, let's say you search, for a position in Phoenix, that position's only just posted in Phoenix. It might be posted and have opportunities in California and other states. So it can be helpful if you maybe are thinking about moving, or if you are looking for positions in other states. And the other thing to keep in mind right now too, if you're looking for internships, is some opportunities are remote, which means that you can search for positions in other states. If they're remote, that means you can still do that position, but from a different state too. So the other component of Handshake that I want to move on to is our events tab. Now, these events that are posted in here are going to be from a variety of career centers, with one of them being Career and Professional Development Services, where Brianne and myself come from. But you will also see positions posted in here from Thunderbird School of Business, the Ira Fulton Schools of Engineering, as well as W.P. Carey School of Business. Each of those colleges and schools have their own individualized career center in which they post their own specific events. Most of the time those events are open to all, but make sure that you review those. I would say most of these events in here are going to be open to all and any student and alumni. But on the events tab, you can search upcoming events. So I'm going to move to the event search tab, which will allow me to utilize more filters. So on here, you can actually use the filter option, which allows you to maybe identify what date range you might be looking at events or any upcoming events. You can also favorite events just like you can with jobs. But this will highlight those upcoming events as far as just an intro to them. So let's see an upcoming event. Okay, so I'm going to click on this webinar through HubSpot. So once you get into an event, it'll have some key information about as far as when that event's going to be, the meeting link, how do you register? I do recommend registering through events on Handshake so you get updates about those, as well as a description about that event. Maybe if you'll see panelist information there, and you can see other RSVP, so what other students are planning on attending that event. And you can actually comment on the event. If you have a question about that event, you can leave a comment there, and it'll notify the host, and then that host would get back to you with an answer as well. So that's a good way to, if you are looking about something and you have a question, this is also where the host will provide updates as far as about that event, and you will get notified if you are registered for that event too. So going back to the events page, again, that's how you can view these events. Something else I wanted to show you is our career fairs. And so you can filter through those utilizing the Fair Search tab. And you can view upcoming career fairs. And let me just click on one that we have coming up. So we have one coming up today, this afternoon, which is our alumni recruiting event. And it pulls up information about that event. And the cool thing is you can actually view all the employers that are planning on being at these events, and you can research information about those employers. So you'll see that AmeriCorps is going to be there, what open positions that they have, what types of majors are they going to be looking for, work authorization statuses. So this is how you can do some strong research before you go to these events and target those specific employers that you want to go attend to, so you can make your time during that event more meaningful. So this is all the searching that you can do through the events tab. So you can search upcoming career fairs and events through here. The next tab I want to go to is our Q&A tab. And this is more of like a forum. So this is where students are allowed to ask questions, and then there's answers being provided. So this is another neat feature, so you can see who answers those questions, who asked the question initially. And again, it allows you, and I'll show you where you can update your settings. If you don't have your settings updated to public, you're not going to be able to connect with other students. But you can see what students are answering those questions. So this is a really neat tool as far as, again, going into that research or just identifying what you might be looking into. So this is through the Q&A tab. You can see, you can also filter by your individual questions and then your individual answers. So you can type in like an employer, you could type in questions about interviews. So you can utilize all these different keywords that will pull up different components. You can also browse by topics too. And then if you're interested in asking a question, you can submit your question here. Heading to the Students tab now, this is where you can, it's almost like a mentoring tool or a tool where you can connect with others. But you can search other students through ASU, but also through other universities. And you can filter by where they work, what school year they are, what's their major. So it allows you to really do that connection with your peers and do that research into the different positions that you might be interested in. The next tab, the Messages tab, is if you're sending a message to like a student or a staff. That's where some of that communication happens on, so it's not too important there. The Career Center tab does highlight information about the Career Center, and this is where you can go to make an appointment. So you'll go to Career Center, and then Appointments, and then when you're looking to schedule an appointment, you'll click Schedule a New Appointment, and then you would click on the status that's most appropriate to you. So you can click on ASU students, and then your topic, and then you would select a date and a time, and then it'll ask you a few additional questions, and then you would have submitted an appointment request. Once you submit an appointment request, it will take you back to this screen, which will see upcoming appointments, so your requested and approved appointments, and then your past appointments. So you can actually see any appointment that you've had with our office in the past. So this is another neat feature, so you can keep track of how you're engaging with our office, and also you'll get reminders about upcoming appointments. But if you are interested in making an appointment, you can do that through that Career Center tab. And this is where you can also see resources that we have posted and just finding out information about our offices too. So now I wanted to get into the last bit of our time here. I want to get into the profile. And so your profile, think of it as like a LinkedIn profile. As you're applying to jobs or connecting with other students, this is what other students and employers will see. So you'll see on here that what makes your profile complete. Now, a complete profile is pretty important because having a complete profile will boost your chances of employers viewing your profile. So things like your education and your school year are pretty much set from your information from ASU. So those are, you can't really change, and your name as well. But you can update things like your GPA on here. So I know that was one of the employer matches, so you can update your GPA. You can also upload a photo, and it'll tell you what makes a complete profile. So adding in skills, documents, a document being your resume, cover letter, or transcript. You can make them private or you can make them public, depends on how you want to use that. You can also add courses, which I'll show you here in a moment. And so you can, what I strongly recommend to do is upload your work and volunteer experience, because again, you want to highlight yourself. And I recommend in this format having the position or having your organization, your position, and then having bullet points describing what you've done there. So then you can see your interest, and this is one area where you can update those industries that you're interested in. So we talked about that survey at the beginning. If you weren't able to complete that, this is where you can go to update that. Also related to industries, this is where you can update your career interest areas. So you can get monthly newsletters from our team about those career industry areas too. You can see who's viewed my profile, the skills that you have highlighted. So this could be, think of these as your technical skills that you want to highlight, some of your transferable skills that you want to highlight. These skills that you're highlighting, employers can utilize these skill sets to identify how you populate in their searches. but you can also include organizations that you're a part of. I definitely recommend adding in a few courses. You don't want to add in your whole course list, but maybe think about 6 to 8 relevant courses, a project that you were a part of, and then maybe even having a resume that you feel comfortable making visible, because again, this is things that others could see if you would like them to. But it's also a place where you can store your documents for if you're applying to jobs through Handshake, so you can store them on there too. We had a question that has come in: is it necessary to have certifications for the skills that I add? It's not necessarily you don't have to have the certification. Let's say you're listing something like Photoshop. You may not have a Photoshop certification, but you may be really familiar with Photoshop. So I would recommend including that on there if you have a beginner's level or even an intermediate level, because you want to show that you have knowledge of that program. That was a good question. And one thing I wanted to note here, I talked about the privacy settings. So your profile will automatically be set to private when you create your Handshake, because you want to make that decision. So you could you can change it through the settings here, and you can make it open to the community, which is visible to employers, students, and alumni as far as that have access to Handshake and want to connect with others. You can make it just visible to employers, and you can make it private so no one else can see that. And then there's some other questions here, but I want to show you how to access these questions. This is where you can also access like your documents, your applications that you've submitted, your reviews that you've left. And then the career interests component, this is where you can update, again, that survey that we were talking about in the beginning, as far as what type of opportunities you're interested in, what roles, where do you want to work. These career interest areas right here, this is where you can select to receive those monthly newsletters. So you might realize like, oh, I'm not really interested in this area anymore. I'm more interested in this. You can always head to click on your picture, and then it's career interest. You can go here and then click the ones that you're most interested in here. And then you can select when you graduate, click save my career interests here. And again, and then your settings are going to be different as far as, what you're looking for. If you're legally allowed to work in the United States, the reason that it's asking these different types of questions, you don't have to answer those questions, but you can if you want to filter different opportunities around that as well. But I definitely recommend going in and completing your profile, having a professional picture, having a bio about yourself, so that introduction, having your experience, some of your skill sets, your courses, so you can really make your profile complete and utilize it to the best of your ability. And if you ever want your profile reviewed, you can always connect with our office, make an appointment with our office, and we'd be happy to review your Handshake profile and give any recommendations there too. So I would say this is a very grand overview of Handshake. The fun thing about Handshake is that as you are in there and utilizing the platform, it's going to customize that experience more for you. So I have my career interest area selected, but as I utilize more search terms, it's customized this homepage a little bit differently each time, based on the amount of times you're searching items. So it's similar to like LinkedIn, where it uses the algorithm. So I definitely recommend, utilizing Handshake, going through there, asking questions or reviewing questions, reviewing those employers, so you can have the best understanding of what employers you want to apply to, preparing for those interviews, and applying to those right type of roles, to those roles that if you need the OPT and the CPT, or you need that visa sponsorship, you can really filter those experiences down and make that unique, customized search for you. So one of the questions that we had come in is, how can we set up a meeting for reviewing our profile? So if you're looking to make an appointment with our office, you will click on Career Center, so the Career Center tab at the top, and then you will click on Appointments, and then you will then click Schedule a New Appointment, and then you will select what the best category is for you. And for reviewing your profile specifically, you would click on, there's also a build function on here. I just don't see it based on my appointment type, but you could click a prepare, whatever one of these descriptions best fits you. And then when you click on one, let me just find a time here that's available with someone. I'll just use Beverly as an example. You'll be able to go in and explain what you're looking to meet with our office about, and what are your goals that you're looking to meet with us about too. So another question that we had come in was, are international students eligible for legal work authorization in the US? And Brian, thank you for answering that. Yeah, so eligible to work 20 hours per week for on-campus positions during their studies. And if you want to work off-campus, there are definitely different options around that. And like Brianne had mentioned, definitely recommend connecting with the International Students and Scholars Center and office because they are going to give you the most accurate information as far as what your visa status is and what the different exceptions come with that visa. Each visa is a little bit different as far as what they allow and what they don't allow. And work authorization. So definitely connect with the International Students and Scholars Center about that to give you the most accurate information. That is, I would say, all the information I have as far as reviewing Handshake. What questions do you all have about Handshake and how you might use the platform or different tools you might interested to see if you have access to?
So it looks like we have a question about kind of talking through the conversation of work authorization and kind of engaging in a conversation around that with employers. So if you are in the US under an F1 visa and you have obtained the appropriate permission to work off campus, so let's say you have been approved for curriculum practical training or pre-OPT, then you may want to have a conversation with your employer about what exactly that means. Definitely, I would recommend getting in contact with both the International Students and Scholars Center to learn kind of their language and their suggestions about how you should engage in that conversation with your employer. And then also at Career and Professional Development Services, we can talk through that as well. So, you know, when is the appropriate time to have that conversation? Will it come up in an interview? Is that something that should be, you know, a part of your application material? So definitely if that's something that you're interested in exploring further, I would recommend to make an appointment both with our office and with ISSC.
And to answer the question on here, it says, regarding online students who live outside of the US, can they find appropriate job opportunities on Handshake, or is it only jobs inside the US? There are jobs in Handshake that are outside of the US as well.
And then also, we are going to have 2 resources that might be helpful for answering that question. Mm-hmm. Tomorrow, May 20th, we're going to have a session about job search strategies for outside of the US. So if you're returning either to your home country or to another country, we'll have a session about that at 11 o'clock in the morning. And then right after that, we have another session where we're going to go over a different platform. It's kind of like Handshake in that you can search for jobs, but it's a platform called Interstride. And that one is specifically focused on international job search. So lots of international opportunities posted there. So I would recommend those 2 sessions for tomorrow.
Are there any other questions that we can help answer for you? And thank you, Brianne, for including that link to find other sessions that are happening this week.
All right, well, if we don't have any other questions, I just want to thank Nick for leading this session today. It's been super helpful to kind of go over Handshake and all that's possible in that platform. For everyone who's joining the call, thank you so much for joining this webinar. We hope that you found it useful. Please do feel free to follow up with us, schedule an appointment with your career and industry specialist, and we hope to see you for one of the other sessions for our International Student Career Development Summer Series. And have a great day.